Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sort through the noise to bring you the knowledge you need without the overload. Today we're getting into a topic that, let's be honest, brings up a lot of feelings for people. Money. Specifically, how to handle your budget without all the stress and, the dread.
Oh, absolutely. It's true. I mean, for so many people, just the word budget, it makes
Yeah.
you think of like tight spreadsheets and feeling punished financially.
A restriction.
Exactly. We've kind of been taught that budgeting means deprivation, cutting back, shrinking everything, always telling yourself no.
And that just doesn't work long term, does it?
It really doesn't. It usually leads to burnout, and then people just give up on the whole thing.
Which is weird because isn't the whole point of managing money supposed to be about feeling, I don't know, more secure, peaceful even?
That's the goal, yeah.
But the act of doing it often feels like the opposite. Less like building something solid, more like having a drill sergeant yelling about every penny.
Right. And that's what we want to change today. Our mission here is to really redefine that relationship you have with budgeting. We want you to start seeing your budget less like a cage or that drill sergeant and more like a compass, a reliable guide.
I can put this.
Yeah. Because budgeting, when you get down to it, it's actually a pretty powerful act of self-care. It's about making that shift, moving from fear and just reacting to spending.
Impulse buys.
Exactly. Shifting from that to making deliberate choices about where your money goes, finding some real confidence in that.
Okay, let's unpack this then. How do we actually turn tracking money, which feels like a chore or worse,
Yeah.
into something that feels, well, like a sanctuary? That sounds like a pretty big mental leap.
It is, but it starts with just reframing the purpose. The simple truth, maybe the gentle truth, is that a good budget isn't really about saying no constantly. It's about knowing exactly where your yeses are going.
Ah, I like that. Saying yes.
Yeah. It immediately changes the focus from restriction, which feels heavy, to intention, which feels, well, purposeful.
Okay, restriction is heavy, intention is light. Makes sense. But where do people usually trip up when they try to make that first shift in thinking?
I think the biggest hurdle is judgment. They approach their finances looking for what they did wrong instead of just being curious. We need to start seeing the budget more like a mirror. It just reflects back your values, your priorities, your actual habits.
No commentary, just facts.
Exactly. It doesn't hold any judgment. It just holds information, facts.
And we really have to admit that money is just, it's so loaded emotionally, isn't it?
It's deeply emotional, yeah.
And most traditional advice just ignores that part. It ignores the guilt or the anxiety or, comparing yourself to others when you look at your spending.
Right. If you see you overspent on, say, eating out, the first instinct is usually shame.
Ugh, I messed up again.
Exactly. And what does shame lead to?
Avoidance.
Yeah.
You don't look at the spreadsheet anymore.
Precisely. So if you want to manage your money mindfully, you have to approach it differently. Look at that bank statement with compassion and curiosity. Instead of thinking, why am I so terrible at this? Try asking, okay, what's the spending telling me? What need was I trying to meet? What can I actually learn from this?
Right.
That switch from judgment to learning, that's absolutely key for making this sustainable, for actual growth.
So it sounds like part of this is shifting from that feeling of scarcity, like there's never enough, to something more like abundance.
Absolutely. That scarcity mindset, the belief that there's never enough, it just fuels stress and it drives impulsive, often panicky decisions.
Right.
Abundance, though, it's not about needing to have millions in the bank. It's more about awareness, gratitude even, focusing on what you can control, making space deliberately for what really matters to you, even if your income is, modest right now. It's about managing what you do have with real intention.
Okay, so we've set the stage mentally. But a mindset shift needs some actual data to work with, right? How do we, turn the lights on in that dark room of our current spending habits? We need clarity.
That's the absolute first step, awareness. You just can't change what you aren't willing to look at. So we start with a little mantra, maybe. I observe my money flow with curiosity, not criticism.
Curiosity, not criticism. Got it. So, practically speaking, how do we track the money coming in beyond just knowing our salary?
You track everything, every single source. Your main paycheck, yeah, but also any side work, maybe some passive income, gifts, even small refunds.
Everything counts.
Everything counts. Seeing that total inflow number written down, it really helps solidify things, gives you a realistic base for planning, and a quick tip. If your income bounces around a lot, maybe you freelance or get bonuses.
Yeah, that can be tricky.
It can. So calculate a solid 3-month average. That smoothes out the highs and lows and gives you a much more predictable number to build your budget around.
Okay, average income if it varies. Makes sense. And then the bit people often dread,
Yeah.
trekking where it all goes, finding the leaks, as you say.
Yeah, the outflow. But keep it simple. You don't need 50 categories. Think broad strokes: essentials, rent, utilities, basic groceries, personal care, enjoyment, fun stuff, growth, maybe classes or books, and savings or debt payments.
Keep it manageable.
Exactly. The real gold here is looking for those small leaks, the little expenses that just sort of seep out of the budget unnoticed. They don't add much real value, and they often don't line up with what you say your priorities are.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me, because spotting those small leaks, that feels like the fastest way to understand yourself better. It shows you the autopilot choices.
That's exactly it.
For me, it's always some subscription I totally forgot I signed up for like 3 years ago.
Happens all the time. Those leaks are often driven by just decision fatigue or not really thinking about where the money's going. Like when you realize that daily 6-pound coffee, which feels small,
Adds up.
it really adds up. Over a year, that's maybe 1,500 pounds, 1,600 pound gone. Suddenly, that awareness turns an autopilot habit into a conscious choice. You start asking, okay, is this 1,600-pound vote really aligned with my goal of, say, building that emergency fund?
Right. Awareness makes unconscious spending conscious. Deliberate.
Precisely. Deliberation.
Okay, so once we have that clear picture, money in, money out, then we can build a system. But it has to be simple, something we'll actually use. Because the rule is sustainability, right? If it feels too rigid or complicated.
You'll ditch it, exactly. The absolute best budget is the one you stick with. It has to feel flexible, natural, not like some strict punishment.
So let's talk systems. What are some proven, less stressful ways people can approach this?
Okay, let's look at 3 really solid options you could choose from.
Great. Let's start with maybe the most well-known one, the one that gives a big picture view.
That'd be the 50-30-20 rule. Super straightforward. The idea is 50% of your after-tax income goes to your essential shit. Needs, housing, food, utilities, essential stuff.
Okay, half for needs.
Then 30% goes to wants, hobbies, eating out, entertainment, things that make life enjoyable but aren't strictly necessary.
The fun stuff.
The fun stuff. And crucially, the remaining 20% goes directly to savings and paying down debt. It gives you a clear structure without getting bogged down in tiny details.
Okay, but I have to jump in here because I hear this a lot. For people living in really expensive cities, that 50% for needs, sometimes it barely covers rent, let alone anything else. Does the rule just break down then?
That's a really important point. And no, it doesn't break down, but it needs adaptation. It's a guideline, right? Not a strict law carved in stone. In those high cost of living areas, maybe your split looks more like, I don't know, 6-5-1-5-20, or even 7-0-1-0-20.
So the needs bucket gets bigger, wants get squeezed.
Exactly. The core principle stays the same. Cover your needs, prioritize that 20% for savings and debt, and then allocate what's left for wants. The key is protecting that 20% savings chunk, even if it means being really intentional, maybe even ruthless with the wants.
Got it. Adapt the percentages, but protect the savings goal.
Okay, what's another approach? Maybe something more hands-on.
For sure. If you like something more tactile, or if you really struggle with overspending in certain areas like groceries or fun money, the envelope system can be fantastic.
Ah, the classic envelopes. Physical cash.
It can be physical cash, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can use digital versions. Lots of apps simulate this now, but the principle is the same. You allocate a fixed amount of money into specific category envelopes at the start of the month. When the groceries envelope is empty, that's it for grocery spending until next month.
Wow, okay. That sounds like it builds awareness fast.
Immense awareness. Because the limit is tangible, it's right there. Spending has to pause when the money runs out in that category. Very effective for building mindfulness around spending.
Okay, so we have the guideline approach with 50-30-20, the very hands-on envelope system. What about for people who just want it automated? Minimal fuss.
Then you're probably looking at a digital tracker. This means using budgeting apps, things like YNA, Mint. There are many others.
YNA, you need a budget. That's the one. It's popular for what's called zero-based budgeting, where every pound or dollar has a job. These apps automate a lot of the tracking. They pull in your transactions, help you categorize them, give you real-time feedback on your spending against your plan.
Sounds efficient.
It's great if you want minimal manual entry and seeing visual charts of your progress. It does take some discipline to set it up correctly at the start, but then the day-to-day maintenance can be quite low.
So, regardless of which system someone picks, the guideline, the envelopes, the app, the basic process underneath needs to be simple, right?
Absolutely. There's a simple 4-step routine that works for any of these.
Okay, what is it?
1. List your income, that predictable average we talked about. 2, identify your fixed costs, rent, mortgage, subscriptions, loan payments, bills that are roughly the same each month,
The must-pays.
the must-pays. 3, track your variable expenses, groceries, gas, entertainment, the stuff that changes month to month. Get a handle on those. And 4, this is key, consciously allocate what's left towards your goals. Savings, paying off debt faster, investing for the future. Give every pound a purpose.
And those goals, they need to be motivating, right?
Yeah.
Not just some vague idea of saving more. They need to connect the budget to something meaningful.
Yes. This is what shifts budgeting from feeling like a chore to feeling like you're building something. It connects the daily tracking to a destination that inspires you. We always recommend using the SMART framework for goals. You've probably heard of it.
Specific, measurable.
Achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of just, I want to save money, it becomes, I will save 500 pounds for an initial emergency fund by the end of October.
Much clearer.
Yeah.
And less daunting.
Exactly. Start small. Build that first 500-pound cushion, feel that win, celebrate it, and then use that momentum to tackle the next goal, maybe paying off a small debt or saving for a specific short-term thing.
Okay, so we've got awareness, we've got a system, we've got goals. How do we keep this going? Life happens, things change. We need to sustain this feeling of peace, which means being flexible, right?
Absolutely critical. If you see the budget as this rigid, perfect thing, the first unexpected expense, like a car repair or a vet bill, is going to make you feel like a failure and throw the whole thing off track.
We're in there.
We all have. A budget is a living document, a system that has to breathe and adapt with your life. It's not a contract set in stone. Flexibility means adjusting the plan when surprises hit, not ditching the plan altogether. So that unexpected bill comes up. Okay, pause. Look at your wants categories for this month: dining out, entertainment. Can you temporarily shift funds from there to cover the surprise?
Instead of immediately reaching for a credit card or just panicking.
Exactly. Shift from a non-essential area first. It's about consistency and managing the plan over the long haul, not about hitting every single target perfectly every single month. Perfection isn't the goal.
Consistency over perfection. I think maybe the biggest challenge here, long term, is that thing called lifestyle inflation. You know, your income goes up.
And your spending magically rises to meet it.
Yeah. So your savings rate stays flat, even though you're earning more. How do we fight that?
The golden handcuffs effect. It's a huge challenge, and it requires conscious effort. This goes back to deliberate allocation. When you get a raise or a bonus, don't just let that extra cash flow in your main account and get absorbed into general spending. Make a plan for it before it hits. Decide up front, okay, 50% of this raise is going straight to increasing my retirement contributions, or this bonus is going to pay off that lingering credit card debt. You have to actively choose to direct it towards your goals first.
Keep your lifestyle costs relatively stable, even as income grows.
Or at least ensure your savings grow faster than your lifestyle spending. That's the key to actually building wealth.
Okay, that requires discipline. Can we make any of this fun? That sounds almost wrong when talking about budgets.
Huh. No, you definitely can. Gamification works. Turn saving into a challenge. You could try the 52-week challenge, save 1 pound the first week, 2 pounds the second, and so on. Or use visual trackers, literally color in a chart as you get closer to a savings goal. Seeing progress visually is really motivating.
Yeah, I like visual things.
And this is important: celebrate the milestones. When you hit 25% or 50% of a big goal, acknowledge it. But do it mindfully. Maybe the reward isn't a big splurge, but something small and enjoyable that reinforces the positive feeling, like a nice evening in, watching a movie you wanted to see, after you've made the savings transfer. It connects the good habit with a good feeling.
Okay, mindful rewards. So we've got awareness, a system, goals, flexibility, ways to make it engaging.
Yeah.
What are the concrete building blocks for that long-term financial piece? What kinds of savings should we be focusing on?
You need layers of security and forward momentum. So 3 main types of savings are essential. First, the absolute foundation, your emergency fund. Aim for 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses. This is your non-negotiable safety net for job loss, illness, major unexpected costs.
Peace of mind fund.
Totally. Second, you need buckets for your short-term goals. These are for specific things you plan to buy or do in the next few years, maybe a vacation, a down payment on a car, new furniture.
Things with a deadline.
Things with a foreseeable timeline, yeah. And third, long-term goals. This is the big picture stuff. Retirement savings, investing for wealth growth, maybe saving for a house down payment years down the line.
Emergency, short-term, long-term.
Okay.
Okay. And what's the single best trick for actually making sure money gets into those buckets?
Automation. Absolutely, 100%. Automate your savings.
Pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first. Set up automatic transfers from your main checking account right after payday. Have that money whisked away into your emergency fund, your short-term goal accounts, your retirement accounts before you even have a chance to spend it. If you don't see it, you don't miss it as much. It removes the friction, the need for willpower. It just happens. Makes building that cushion almost effortless.
Effortless saving. I like the sound of that. Okay, finally, to keep this whole system humming along, keep that financial harmony. So it's a simple maintenance routine. We don't want it to become another huge chore.
Keep it simple. 3 levels of check-in work well for most people. First, a quick monthly check-in. Maybe 15, 30 minutes. Just look back at the last month's spending, see how it tracked against your plan, and quickly allocate funds for the upcoming month.
Just a quick tune-up.
Exactly. Then maybe a slightly deeper quarterly reflection. Look ahead. Are there big expenses coming up next season, like holidays or summer travel? Do you need to adjust your budget categories accordingly?
Planning ahead a bit.
Yep. And finally, an annual goal review. Once a year, take a step back. Look at your big picture goals, retirement, house savings. How are you tracking? Has anything changed in your life that means you need to adjust your long-term savings targets or strategy?
Monthly tweak, quarterly plan, annual review. That sounds manageable.
It's designed to be. It keeps you engaged without being overwhelming.
You know, if we connect this back to the bigger picture you mentioned, it really feels like when you manage your money with this kind of intention, this awareness, it probably spills over, right? Makes you more mindful in other parts of life too.
I absolutely believe it does. It's fundamentally about making conscious choices about how you use your resources, your time, your energy, your money. It's about aligning your actions with your values. That kind of mindful management naturally transforms your financial life from being the source of worry and feeling restricted to being a source of clarity and honestly empowerment.
So, for you listening right now, what does all this really mean? I think it means that getting a handle on your budget isn't about achieving some kind of impossible perfection. It's really about being present with your choices, making steady progress, and building a simple, adaptable system that actually reflects your values and your life.
Find the system that feels right for your personality, whether it's the 50-30-20 percentages, the hands-on envelope method, or an automated digital tracker. Choose one. And then just commit to that simple maintenance routine, check-in, reflect, review. Consistency is the magic ingredient.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with, something to maybe mull over this week. Given that money often acts like a mirror, reflecting our habits and maybe even our emotional state, what if, just for the next week, before every single time you spent money tapping your card, clicking Buy Now, you pause for just 1 second and ask yourself, how do I feel about making this choice right now? Is this moving me towards that goal I set, even that first 500 pounds? What surprising truth about what you really value might that simple daily check-in reveal? Something to think about. Join us next time for another deep dive.